भक्त चरण रेणु भजनानुकूल भक्त सेवा परम सिद्धि प्रेमलति कर मूला भक्त सेवा परम सिद्धि प्रेमलति कर मूला माधवतीति भक्ति जननी जतने पालन कोरी माधवतीति भक्ति जननी मदन पालन कोरी कृष्ण बसती बसती बोली परमादर मोरी कृष्ण बसती बसती बोली परमादर बोली गौरामर्षिषभस्तान गौरीबो ब्राह्मण रंगे गौरामर्षिषभस्ताने कोरले ब्राह्मण रंगे शेषभस्तान हेरिबो आमी प्रणय भक्त संगे शेषभस्तान हेरिबो आमी प्रणय भक्त संगे मृदंग वाद्य सुनिते मन अवसर सदा जाचे मृदंग वाद्य सुनिते मन अवसर सदा बाचे गौरविहित कीर्तन सुनी आनंद हृदय नाचे नाचे गौरविहित कीर्तन सुनी आनंद हृदय नाचे युगल मूर्ति देखिया मोर परम आनंद होया युगल मूर्ति देखिया मोरा परम आनंद होया प्रसाद सेवा करिते हया सकल प्रपंच जाया प्रसाद सेवा करिते हया सकल प्रपंच जाया प्रसाद सेवा करिते हया सकल प्रपंच जाया करिते हया सकल प्रपंच जाया यदि न गृहे भजन देखी गृहते गोलोक भाया यदि न गृहे भजन देखी गृहते गोलोक भाया चरण सिंधु देखिया गंगा सुख सीमा पाया चरण सिंधु देखिया गंगा सुख सीमा पाया तुलसी देखी जुराया प्राण माधव तोषण जाने तुलसी देखे जुराया प्राण माधव तोषण जाने गौर प्रिय शाख सेवने जीवन सार्थक माने गौर प्रिय शाख सेवने जीवन सार्थक माने भक्ति विनोद कृष्ण भजने अनुकूल पाया जा भक्ति विनोद कृष्ण भजने अनुकूलाया प्रतिदिवासे परम सुखे स्वीकार करो आता प्रतिदिवासे परम सुखे स्वीकार करो यता शुद्ध भक्ता चरण रेणु भजन अनुकूला शुद्ध भक्ता चरण रेणु भजन अनुकूला भक्त सेवा परम सिद्धि प्रेमलति करमूला भक्त सेवा परम सिद्धि प्रेमलति करमूला।
जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी जय गोपीजना वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय गोपीजना वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजना यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजना यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Madan Mohan Radhe. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jagannatha, Jagannatha, Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. जगद्गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, सामवेद गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। Hare Krishna, welcome you all on this auspicious day of Ekadasi to Sri Radha Madan Mohan Mandir. We are reading from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, Volume 4, the chapter titled In Every Town and Village. Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan ki jai, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai, Shri Shri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Maharani ki jai. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadhamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Yudapadakamalam Shri Gurum Vaisnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunadhan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Krupa Sindubhyayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim Yat krupa tamaham bande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram. This is in Nairobi, September 18th, 1971. In Nairobi, Srila Prabhupada demonstrated how a sannyasi should preach. For 1 month, he strictly followed Vedic tradition by staying only 3 days or less in the home of each of his Indian hosts. Then, although his hosts always provided him good food and comfortable accommodations, he would move on to the next place. This was the rule for sannyasis. Prabhupada said, it kept them from becoming attached to bodily comforts and from inconveniencing their hosts. For Srila Prabhupada to practice these rudimentary lessons of sannyasa was, of course, unnecessary, for he was a Paramahamsa, a sannyasi in the highest order of Krishna consciousness. His body, mind and words being totally engaged in Krishna's transcendental service, he was automatically detached from material comforts. Nevertheless, he followed the Vedic system just to instruct his disciples by his example. He was following the system of Madhukari, named for the bee, which takes only a little pollen from a flower and then goes on to the next. This system of brief visits also enabled Prabhupada to involve more families in Krishna consciousness and to honor the abundance of invitations. Wherever Prabhupada went, he was undisputably the Guru, the Venerable Sadhu. Yet, he would deal intimately with his hosts, developing friendships and behaving practically like an elder member of the family. His hosts would offer him the best room in their home, usually their own bedroom, and the lady of the house, along with her assistants, would cook elaborate meals. Prabhupada's natural Krishna conscious bearing was commanding, and his behavior was always aristocratic. Yet his hosts were charmed by his humility. Quickly, he was becoming the friend and Vaisnava guru of many families in Nairobi. Prabhupada's behavior in Nairobi was instructive for the few Western disciples who accompanied him. On one occasion, a Mr. Devaji Dhamji invited Prabhupada to bless the temple room in his home. Prabhupada entered and Mr. Dhamji offered him a deer skin to sit on. We do not sit on deer skin, Prabhupada said. It is pure, but our Vaishnavas don't wear them or sit on them. That is for the yogis. Bhavananda, Mr. Dhamji invited Prabhupada to sit on a sofa which had been covered by a clean white cloth. Prabhupada sat down and they bathed his feet. This was the first time I ever saw anyone bathe Prabhupada's feet. They bathed his feet with milk and then with water and rose petals. Then they put chandana on his feet, then red kunkuma powder, rice powder and jasmine flowers. His toes were red from kunkuma and grains of rice and little white jasmine flowers just stayed on his feet. And then he gave a talk. I had never noticed the Guru's feet up until that time. That was the first time I realized that the feet of the Guru are special and they are astoundingly beautiful. Prabhupada wasn't satisfied preaching only to the Indians. He wanted to preach to the Africans. Indians and Africans were completely segregated. But since a Krishna conscious person does not make distinctions based on the body, Prabhupada said the Indians had a duty to share their spiritual culture with the Africans. Prabhupada impressed on Brahmananda Swami that his first duty in Africa was to give Krishna consciousness to the Africans. Because of bad experience in Turkey and Pakistan, Brahmananda Swami had been reluctant to hold public kirtans in Nairobi. Besides, the Africans spoke mostly Swahili. They were culturally different and usually too poor to buy books, so Brahmananda Swami did not know how to preach to them effectively. Going to the Indians had been easy and natural. But Prabhupada wanted the Africans. It is an African country, he said simply. They are the proprietors. We should be preaching to them. As with everything else in Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada demonstrated how to do this also. He got the use of a Radha Krishna temple in a predominantly African downtown area. The temple had a hall with doors opening onto the busy street, and Prabhupada instructed the devotees to hold kirtana in the hall, keeping the doors open. The devotees did as he asked, and in 5 minutes, the hall began filling up with people. It was a shabby area of town, and the people who entered were illiterate and dirty. But they were curious, and they happily joined in the kirtana, smiling, clapping, and dancing. Brahmananda Swami left the hall and went to the nearby house where Prabhupada was staying. The place is filled with people, Brahmananda Swami said, but it's not necessary for you to come. We can carry on and do the program ourselves. No, Prabhupada said, I must go. Brahmananda Swami tried to discourage him. No, I must go, Prabhupada repeated. Are you going to take me? When Brahmananda Swami arrived with Srila Prabhupada, the hall was even more crowded than it had been a few minutes before. Prabhupada, in his silken saffron robes, appeared effulgent as he entered in the dingy, poorly lit auditorium. As he walked, the crowd parted, leaving a nail for him to pass among them, and they watched him curiously. On stage, Prabhupada led a kirtana and lectured. Although the Swahili speaking audience was unable to understand Prabhupada's lecture, the people were respectful, and the kirtana they loved. Members of the Indian community had been apprehensive of Prabhupada's opening their hall to the Africans, and some of them had attended to see what would happen. Observing Prabhupada's compassionate program, however, the Indians were impressed. Such an apparently simple program had the spiritual potency to erase cultural boundaries. This should be Brahmananda Swami's mission in Africa, Prabhupada insisted, offering Krishna consciousness to the Africans. And the program should be simple: distributing prasadam, distributing free books, and chanting Hare Krishna with drums and kartalas. Krishna consciousness should not be just another Nairobi Hindu religious society. The Hindus should take part by donating money, but Brahmananda Swami's preaching and recruiting should be among the Africans. When several black American disciples joined Prabhupada in Nairobi, Prabhupada told them, 400 years ago, your ancestors were taken away from here as slaves. But just see how you have returned as masters. Prabhupada also organized Nairobi's first outdoor Kirtana performance. The devotees went to Kamakunji Park's largest tree, a historical landmark connected with Kenyan independence. As they stood chanting beneath the tree, a large crowd gathered and many began chanting. Some even danced in a sort of tribal shuffle. One young man stepped forward and offered to translate Brahmananda Swami's speech into Swahili. The devotees distributed sweet bundi, and the people in the crowd really enjoyed themselves. The whole affair was a great success. Rushing back to Prabhupada, Brahmananda Swami reported on the wonderful Kirtana in the park. Brahmananda felt the same emotion as in 1966 when he had reported to Prabhupada the success of the first Kirtana at Washington Square Park in New York City. Now, as then, Brahmananda Swami had followed Prabhupada's instructions and the result had been successful. Prabhupada, by his personal example and by his pushing Brahmananda Swami, had within a few days changed the emphasis of preaching in Africa from Indians to Africans. The night of Srila Prabhupada's lecture at the University of Nairobi, 2,000 African students filled the auditorium, with hundreds more standing outside to look in through the doors and windows. First, Prabhupada had Bhuta Bhavana, a black American disciple, deliver a short introduction using some borrowed Swahili phrases. Harambe, he began, which means, welcome brothers, let us work together. Then Prabhupada spoke. The whole world is simply hankering and lamenting. You African people are now hankering to be like the Europeans and Americans. But the Europeans have lost their empire. They are now lamenting. So one party is hankering and one party is lamenting. We have come to these African countries to invite all intelligence Africans to come and understand this philosophy and distribute it. You are trying to develop yourselves, so develop very soundly, but don't imitate the Americans and Europeans who are living like cats and dogs. Such civilization will not stand. The atom bomb is already there. As soon as the next war breaks out, all the skyscraper buildings and everything else will be finished. Try to understand from the real standpoint, the real view of human life. That is the Krishna consciousness movement, and we request you to come and try to understand this philosophy. Thank you very much. The audience burst into applause, giving Prabhupada a standing ovation. This response proved once again that Krishna's message spoke to the heart. It was for all people, regardless of their political, geographic, or social predicament. When Prabhupada had first landed at the Nairobi airport, he had assured the reporter that he would be preaching to the Africans, and now he was. He was delivering to the Africans the same message and the same process of devotional service he had delivered to the Americans. What the Americans wanted and what the Africans wanted could be realized only in Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness would work anywhere if sincere and intelligent persons would only come forward and help distribute it. Prabhupada continued with outside speaking engagements. While appearing on the popular TV show Mambo Leo, Prabhupada displayed a painting of Lord Chaitanya dancing and chanting with his devotees. We have one there. The interviewer asked Prabhupada why only Caucasians appeared to be in the picture. Well, there are many colors in India, Prabhupada replied. And who is the central figure here? The interviewer asked. This is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Prabhupada replied. He is God. He cannot be God, the large burly interviewer reported. What do you mean? He is God. This is a human being. But Prabhupada became even more aggressive than the interviewer. Why do you say he cannot come as a human being? Why God cannot come as a human being? In another of his many Nairobi lectures, Prabhupada stressed that peace was possible only on the spiritual platform. Krishna consciousness alone would unite the present factions. For instance, in Africa, the Indians may be satisfied with their own methods, but the Africans are not satisfied. So if one is dissatisfied in material life, then another is satisfied, and there will be disturbance. But if you come to the Krishna conscious platform, if you engage yourself in the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then your mind and soul will be fully satisfied. Prabhupada went on to explain his plans for helping Africans. We have come to Africa to educate the people, not only Indians or the Hindus, but also the native people, the local population. I am glad that our people are going to Sankirtana party in the streets as we go everywhere, in London, in New York, and all the big cities of the world. We are trying to lead our Sankirtana parties through the streets, and the local African boys and girls and gentlemen are gathering. They are receiving this movement. So there is every possibility of spreading Krishna consciousness everywhere. This movement has come here. So I request that those who are present try to cooperate with the Krishna consciousness movement. And I am sure that the African boys and girls will take part in it as you have experienced. We have a great many African boys and girls as our students in America, so there is no difficulty. It is not that because one is very busy, therefore he cannot serve God, or that because one is poor or black or white that he cannot serve God. No, anyone who takes to the process of pure devotional service will never be checked. Prabhupada also had his audience to help the devotees establish a center in Nairobi. We must have a place to stay. Unless we stay, how can we prosecute the movement? Therefore, help us immediately. Give us a place and see how things improve. You have already tested this movement and found that it has been successful all over the world. Why not in Africa? We are not a sectarian group. We don't consider whether one is African or American. In Nairobi, Prabhupada heard of a new law in Tanzania that after 10 years, all private property would automatically become the property of the state, and that the owner would be entitled only a 10% reimbursement. This was a typically Kali Yuga law, Prabhupada remarked. The state passes a law with no reasoning and no benefit for the people. The state would protect the people, Prabhupada said. In Vedic history, during the misrule of the demonic king Vena, the sages and the Brahmanas had become very disturbed and had punished him. The sadhu's duty was to make sure the kings ruled justly. But today, nowhere in the world were political affairs in order. There was no sane philosophy to guide society. We must begin to interfere, Prabhupada urged his disciples. Now we are 500 men and we each have 50 years. So think of what we can do. But you must become dedicated as I am. Sometimes a Vaisnava is criticized as doing nothing, but Arjuna and Hanuman were Vaisnava warriors. When the High Court judges wear tilaka, then we are successful. My Guru Maharaja said that. My godbrothers were for getting temples, some rice, eating a little, chanting. But for us, first we work, then samadhi. The word samadhi technically refers to a state of trance in which one is completely absorbed in Krishna and forgets the material world and all material desires. Generally, samadhi is thought of in terms of a secluded meditation. A highly advanced yogi goes to a solitary, peaceful place and meditates or chants constantly. But Prabhupada demonstrated by his life's example that the world situation was too urgent for a devotee to retire and meditate. Rather, a devotee should labor hard to increase the Krishna consciousness movement. This would benefit both the devotee and the masses. Prabhupada's disciples, therefore, as servants of their spiritual master, should work now. And later, perhaps in old age and spiritual maturity, they could retire to a holy place to constantly chant and hear about Krishna. We will stop here. While I was going through this module, I was just thinking that had Prabhupada not established this Iskcon, where would all of us be? Maybe we all would be into abysmal lows of material life. His unwavered determination, his staunch faith in Lord Krishna, and his surrender spirit to his spiritual master Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakura have made this possible. In spite of his old age, at the age of 69, he sets on to go in a cargo ship, Jaladuta, and that time he started to he attempted to start this movement in India. We were not ready. So a lot of reversals in India. So in order to fulfill the desire of his spiritual master, Prabhupada set on the journey in Jaladuta. Sumati Murarji, who has sponsored, she said, at this age you will go there and die. You cannot do anything. Better you continue pursuing, your completing Srimad Bhagavatam here in India. But then, with his hand gestures, like a loving father to a daughter, he proceeded to America. He survived 2 heart attacks. Had there been any other person in his position, he would have chosen to come back. What I felt was, Srila Prabhupada has already laid the red carpet for all of us. Wherever we go, we need not introduce ourselves as from Iskcon. Just by looking at us, one would recognize that these are Krishna devotees. So he has made all the arrangements. He has laid the red carpet for all of us. So, Prabhupada is saying here, Krishna consciousness would work anywhere if sincere and intelligent persons would only come forward and help distribute it. This is our menial service to our founder Acharya. So, what is our duty as Krishna conscious devotees? Just follow the 4 regulative principles and then first equip yourself with Krishna consciousness and then distribute the same to the whole society at large. That is one of the first purposes of the 7 purposes for which Prabhupada has established the Iskcon. So, in this also, in this module what we have read, he was encouraging the Africans. He was saying that earlier how they were treated as slaves, and now he's inspiring them, encouraging them that they are all masters. So he was also talking about establishing peace. Peace can be established only through Krishna consciousness and nothing else. We have seen that United Nations Organization, UNO, is established to, you know, uh, to establish peace among the nations, but was it successful? Cold wars, practical wars, these are the order of the day. Maybe in a few days, Iran might be affected badly. So the peace formula is given by Lord Krishna in 5th chapter, 29 sloka of Bhagavad Gita. Bhoktaram yajnatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhrudam sarvabhutanam jnatva mam santi mruchyati. This is the peace formula. And if this is adopted by one and all, peace can be established forever. No need to allocate 30% or 40% of the GDP or the budgets to, this defense. So these are my small reflections. If anybody has their, want to share their reflections, comments, you're welcome. So thank you so very much. We end here. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय. श्री नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय. श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय.
लोग श्री सच्चिदाष्टकम। नव गौरवरं नव पुष्पशरं नव भावधरं नव लास्यपरम् नव गौरवरं नव पुष्पशरं नव भावधरं नव लास्यपरम् नव हास्यकरं नव हेमवरं प्रणमामि सचीसुत गौरवरम् प्रणमामि सचीसुत गौरवरम् प्रणमामि सचीसुत गौरवरम् नव प्रेमयुतं नवनीतसुचं नव वेशकृतं नव प्रेमरसम्